Sorry, I just found out the DNC is $7 million in debt, while Bernie got 50,000 new donors last night. So, I watched the 5th debate last night, and I have a lot of thoughts. All I have are negative thoughts. So, first of all, who won? Well, Bernie, Tulsi, and Yang. Of course. The three amigos. And I'm not even being, like, subjective here. I really do think they did the best out of everybody. They're always the ones who stand out. Yang with his UBI, Tulsi with their foreign policy, Bernie with his entire platform, his movement, his revolution. Although Bernie did let me down a little bit, but I don't know if it's more his fault or the mods' fault, but we'll get to that. Also, some people on Twitter were pointing out how the three anti-establishment candidates all had red backgrounds. Like, when they were facing the front-facing camera, there was red in the background of them. And although it was probably just a coincidence, would we really put it past MSNBC, the DNC, fucking Washington Post to do something like that? And some people were like, why is that significant? Why is that? Well, red is the color of the Republicans, first of all. And also it's the color of communism, Red Scare. You can especially see the stark contrast in shots like this when it's like Kamala versus Tulsi. I would just be like, oh, that's just a coincidence. But there's this like awkward smear of red just behind Bernie. There's just this awkward smear. Like, the graphic design makes absolutely no sense. I don't know if we have like media derangement syndrome or if they're really trying to pull some bullshit. But just a fun conspiracy to think about. Not really a big deal, but anyway, moving on. They opened with impeachment talk. I was hoping they would not open with impeachment talk, and they did. Now, is the impeachment important? Yes, it's an important thing that's happening. If Trump did something illegal, or if he did something wrong that's impeachment worthy, he should be impeached. Yes. But none of the candidates up there disagree with that. All of them agree that if Trump did something bad, then he should be impeached. Why are we focusing on this? Why is this the opening? They all agree. We only have, what, like 2 hours? Please talk about how they're different. Please outline their differences. This is the one time the normies and, like, my parents pay attention to what's happening. Please, please just talk about policy. I think they're just worried because all the stooges that they have up on that stage, like all their little puppets, they don't have faith in them anymore. You saw my video, the DNC is scared video. If you haven't watched that, go watch that now. I'm proud of it. I like it. For once, I like a video I did. Very weird. So I'm just gonna briefly talk about why I think those three won, starting with Yang. He always brings something new to the table, always. Even if you don't agree with his UBI thing, even if you don't agree with his politics, he's such a likable, relatable guy, and he always brings something new. He always brings something unique that nobody else on that stage is really talking about. He brought up, like, maternity leave and shit like that, and he brought up how, like, we're the only other country besides, I forgot which country he said, that doesn't have it, and I didn't even know that. That was, like, shocking. That, like, stuck with me. Oh, and Andrew didn't even get to speak until 30 minutes into the debate. And when they finally called on him, he was like, poor dude. And then they asked him, you know what they asked him? You know what they asked Yang? What would be the first thing you say on the phone to Putin? Did a 13-year-old write this? Tulsi did phenomenal. She was on fire. She was just like on the attack all night, which kind of sucks that she's always like in this defense mode, but I love to see her take these people down. She's like one of the only ones up there who has the balls to call everybody out, and you kind of get this feeling that everyone on that stage is scared of her. She's not doing this like fake ass Cory Booker, fake ass Pete Buttigieg, let's all get along, we're a big tent, we're all blue, we're all Democrats, we need to get along. Like, oh, fuck that. No, it is a primary. I will talk more in depth about Tulsi versus Kamala versus Pete towards the end of this video because that's gonna be like the bulk of this video, so keep watching. I will talk about that. I will get to that. Bernie, as always, was on fire. I thought he did really, really well in this debate, especially when he started talking about foreign policy. Unfortunately, he doesn't talk about it a lot on the stage, But Bernie and Tulsi are very similar in their foreign policy, and when Bernie talks foreign policy, people listen. People were right-wingers in my mentions when I was retweeting things Bernie was saying on stage. They were like, wow, I agree with Bernie. Wow, this is the first time I agreed with Bernie. It's like, I think you'd agree a lot with Bernie if you actually paid attention to some things he says, especially foreign policy-wise. Also, I love in the beginning of the debate, Bernie straight up was like, shut the fuck up with your orange man bad and let's talk policy. You can tell the man is so pissed off about all, I will defeat Trump. Please clap. Like, you could tell he's just fucking done with it because every single debate, I think since debate 1, Bernie was like, yes, we gotta defeat Trump, he's bad. But also, after Trump is defeated, we have to do other things. And he's like pissed. You could tell the man has just had it up to here. He sees the presidency as not him being a leader, but as everyone rising up as a movement and changing this country. I think that's what separates him from so many other candidates, is he's an activist politician, and I really like that about him. That's like his whole thing. Pete Buttigieg is in so many scandals right now. He got caught faking black support. I don't know if you guys know about this, but he faked black supporters. He basically, his campaign sent out an email and they told his black supporters, hey, if you see this email, opt out of this support. Nobody, and like people don't always check their email. So Pete is sending out these messages and is like, hey, like, haha, opt out of this if you don't support me. 3, 2, 1. Oops, guess I have all these supporters. And what happens is someone, oh god, I don't know their name, but they were a black person and they were a pretty important figure. I am so sorry I'm blanking on their name. But they didn't support Pete. They supported Bernie. And then like a list of Pete's supporters came out and that person was on the list and the person was like, what? So he basically just made up supporters. But on top of that, he used like Kenyan stock images. Cringe. Pete has 0 black support apparently. 0! And he's really condescending about it too, and he's really rude about it, because he was like at this rally and some black woman was like, why should I support you? And Pete was like, I don't need your support. It's like, ew! But yeah, not a single question about that. That's a huge thing happening right now. But no, what do they ask? They ask Yang what he'll say to Putin, and then he asks Bernie about how some people at his rally were chanting, lock him up, about Trump. Really? Nobody seemed to go after Pete. He's in all of this shit. He's rising in the polls, like completely manufactured, by the way. Not even joking, all his likability is completely manufactured. It's just, I saw a crystal ball from The Hill describe him like this. He's like a Christian summer camp counselor. Gotta have high hopes for a living. Gotta have high hopes. It's like, yeah, that's definitely how you get the black vote. You get the black vote by gotta have high hopes for black people. Probably look at that shit like, what the fuck is wrong with white people? Another drama that has been occurring is Warren basically backpedaled completely on Medicare for All, like backpedaled completely on her healthcare plan. Nothing. We saw nothing about that. Not a single question about that. Nobody came after her about that. Like, Warren's over here getting ratioed on Twitter about her healthcare plan. Bernie's over here subtweeting her about it. The girls are fighting, and nobody cares. Nobody brought it up on stage. I was actually coming to terms and coming to peace with the thought of a possible Warren presidency. I was like, okay, you know, it might not be that bad. And she has just been going downhill. Also, this happened.
Only about 1% of Americans serve in the United States military right now. Should that number be higher?
Yes, I think it should be.
Are we shocked the woman who voted for increased military spending wants to increase the amount of people in the military? No. But nobody brought her healthcare plan up. Nobody brought the drama that ensued over the week. Why did nobody bring it up? It would have shown the difference, the clear difference between Bernie and Warren. I guess I just answered my own question. They don't want to show the difference between Bernie and Warren. And Bernie never called her out for the healthcare plan. That's what I was talking about, why I was disappointed in him. Bernie is never on the offense. He's always playing defense. He will always come after someone only if they come after him first. He considers everyone on that stage to be his friend. He considers Warren a friend. He considers Biden a friend. Every time he goes to criticize Biden, he's like, Joe, you're my friend. It's like, Bernie, let me be clear, nobody cares if you're friends with Joe. Like, one of his worst faults is that he's too nice. Like, I guess out of every fault you could have for a candidate, that's the best one to have, but it's also kind of a downfall. Like, if I'm friends with someone, it's really hard for me to criticize them. Like, even on Twitter, if I disagree, I'll always, like, be like, hey, I like your content, but like, I'll soften the blow before I disagree with them. But the difference between me on Twitter talking to another YouTuber versus two people running to rule the country. Like, if my friend and me were running for president of the United States and my friend was like, hey, by the way, we're not gonna have Medicare for all until like 2050, LOL, I would say something. I would call them out. Stop pulling back punches. Just go for it. Call Warren out on her backpedaling of Medicare for all. Stop holding back your punches. Speaking of punches, Joe Biden! Joe Biden started talking about domestic abuse against women, and he was like, we gotta keep punching it, and punching it. By the way, Joe is looking bad, man. He keeps getting worse. He was like half asleep on the stage the entire time. I don't think he knew where he was. He was like stumbling over his words, forgetting his sentences, and, you know, it went from it being funny to it being concerning and sad, and it's like, Joe, please drop out, enjoy your life. It's not 1999 anymore. Oh my god, speaking of, Cory Booker with the left hook out of nowhere, calling out Joe Biden with his boomer-ass shit about marijuana. Like, all the rest of the candidates were like, legalize it, legalize it, legalize it, and Joe Biden's just like, it's a gateway drug. What year is it? So, Cory called him out on it, and I enjoyed that. He did a really good job doing that. Punished Booker. Booker knows he had nothing to lose. Amy Klobuchar seemed really nervous. She was shaking. She was literally shaking. And like stuttering, and like she was just like, she seemed very nervous. She just did her whole shtick where she's like, I won this and I won that and I bring the blue and the red together. It's like, Amy, that's not showing anywhere. You know who's bringing blue and red together? Tulsi, Bernie, Yang, not you. She's like, she's literally just there to tell everybody that she's the better things aren't possible candidate. She's literally there to shush everyone. She's like the librarian, like all the kids are being rowdy in the library, and she's like, shh! That's Amy Klobuchar. Then they asked Tulsi and Yang about white supremacist terrorism. Like, gee, I wonder why they asked the two 4chan favorites about white terrorism. I liked Yang's answer, though. Yang had a good answer for that. One of the weirdest points in the debate was when they basically handed Kamala a chance to go after Pete, and she didn't take it. Tulsi had to be the one to call Pete out about something. So she called him out for saying that he wants to send troops to Mexico, which he did say. He lied and said he didn't say that. He absolutely said it. It's from an interview. So let's get to the Tulsi versus Kamala versus Pete bullshittery. Let's just dive headfirst into that. Are you ready?
I think that it's unfortunate that we have someone on the stage who is attempting to be the Democratic nominee for President of the United States, who during the Obama administration spent 4 years full-time on Fox News criticizing President Obama.
How dare she criticize Obama, the man who can do no wrong.
That's who ridiculous. Has spent full-time. That's ridiculous. Has spent full-time.
People are clapping. This country is doomed.
Criticizing people on this stage at the...
It's a primary!
As affiliated with the Democratic Party, when Donald Trump was elected, not even sworn in, buddied up to Steve Bannon to get a meeting with Donald Trump in...
So that's actually how I found out about Tulsi. Instead of going to the Women's March, apparently Tulsi met with Trump to talk about Syria. She met with Trump to talk about policy. She, a politician, met with the President of the United States to talk about policy. And Kamala thinks this is some kind of gotcha. She's just flat out saying she won't be critical of her side, and that being critical of her side is a bad thing, that she's just gonna be proudly a partisan hack. And she's not gonna meet with the president. Oh, Trump bad, so we can't discuss policy with him?
And then spends full time during the course of this campaign, again, criticizing the Democratic Party.
Good, the Democratic Party has issues. What? I don't understand. Like, okay. Part of the I could do a whole video on my Trump one. Maybe I will, but part of the reason people really liked him, and Bernie says this too. Bernie has admitted several times the reason Trump was so popular was because he called out the Democratic establishment, and he called out the Republican establishment. She cannot wrap her mind around being nonpartisan. And that's scary. You don't want a leader like that. You want someone who focuses on what's best for the people, not what's best for the party. This is something that always comes back to this, it seems. These bizarre party loyalists.
What we need on the stage in November is someone who has the ability to win. And by that, we need someone on that stage who has the ability to go toe-to-toe with Donald Trump, and someone who has the ability to rebuild the Obama coalition and bring the party and the nation together.
Tulsi goes on Fox News and talks to people we disagree with. What we need is someone who can bring the nation together. Sis, it don't add up.
Senator, Congresswoman Gabbard, I'll give you a chance to respond.
Oh, people are applauding that. Ugh.
Senator Harris is doing is unfortunately continuing to traffic in lies and smears and innuendos because she cannot challenge the substance of the argument that I'm making, the leadership and the change that I'm seeking to bring.
Yep. So, just like Tulsi said, Kamala always resorts to smears. You go on Fox News, like, she has no policy substance at all. She can't argue policy. She can only do this partisan hackery. She can only do smears. She can only pivot to Donald Trump bad. She has nothing
In our foreign policy, which only makes me guess that she will, as president, continue the status quo, continue the Bush-Clinton-Trump foreign policy of regime change wars, which is deeply destructive. This is personal to me because I served in Iraq. I left my seat in the state legislature in Hawaii, volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I served in a medical unit where every single day I saw the terribly high human cost of war. I take very seriously the responsibility that the president has to serve as commander-in-chief, to lead our armed forces, and to make sure always, no, I'm not going to put party interests first.
I believe that what our nation needs right now is a nominee who can speak to all people.
You just criticized her for speaking with Trump in Fox News. MSNBC really set it up so Kamala could have her revenge, and she just falls flat on her fucking face.
I spent my entire career standing mostly in a courtroom speaking.
Standing mostly in a courtroom being a fucking cop.
5 words, Kamala Harris for the people. And it was about all the people, regardless of their race, regardless of their gender, regardless of where they live geographically, regardless of the party with which they're registered to vote or the...
So why are you mad that she's on Fox News? Does she have 2 brains?
On this debate stage in November, who has the ability to unify the country and to win the election.
That's a amazing endorsement of Tulsi, Kamala, thank you. Later on, Kamala tweeted a screenshot of, like, one of Trump's Twitter or Facebook pages posted a clip of Tulsi saying the Democrats aren't the party for the people anymore, and how Tulsi wants to fix that, and, like, a Republican page posted it, like, yes, preach, and Kamala's like, it speaks for itself, or whatever she says. Like, I don't even have to say anything. Like, I'm sorry, Kamala, where's the lie? Where's the lie that the Democratic Party, like, isn't the party for the people anymore? Bernie says the same thing for the average working class people anymore. They've become, like, the fucking corporate party. That's the thing, like, that's the problem Kamala has. That's, like, the mental block Kamala has. Is she's one of those people that if Trump does a thing, that thing bad. If Republican does thing, that thing bad. That's her entire, like, outlook. She's kind of like the liberal version of those conservatives that will just do stupid shit to trigger the libs, like Paul Joseph Watson, drinking a glass of milk while eating sushi because milk is white supremacist and sushi's cultural appropriation. And he's like, take that, libs. Or like the people on Fox News eating a steak and like pushing plastic straws into the steak. Like, oh, libs owned. That's fucking Kamala Harris. We can't have a leader like that. She's so beyond partisan, it's not even funny. She's so tribal. I hate it. Kamala versus Pete Buttigieg. I hate Pete Buttigieg and his absolute fabricated likability, his fake ass. He's such a hack. He is 37 years old. He is a year younger than Tulsi. They are both the youngest in this race. They are both the only millennials in this race. But the DNC already has their claws into Pete. Imagine being such a hack at only 37 years old. And Tulsi knows it, and Tulsi wants to take him down a peg and show everyone that he's just a fucking hack. So she went for him, because nobody else on this stage went for him. They were all given an opportunity to go for him because he's going through all this drama, and he said so much stupid shit in the past, like, 2 weeks.
I want to get back to Pete Buttigieg and his comment about experience. Pete, you'll agree that the service that we both have provided to our country as veterans by itself does not qualify us to serve as commander-in-chief. I think the most recent example of your inexperience in national security and foreign policy came from your recent careless statement about how you as president would be willing to send our troops to Mexico to fight the cartels.
I know that it's par for the course in Washington to take remarks out of context, but...
I love how he's like, I know, like, that's a standard Washington politician. You think Tulsi Gabbard is a standard Washington politician? Nice try, Pete. You really tried it.
That is outlandish, even by the standards of today's politics.
Are you saying that you didn't say that?
I was talking about U.S.-Mexico cooperation. We've been doing security cooperation with Mexico for years, with law enforcement cooperation and a military relationship that could continue to be developed with training relationships, for example. Do you
Tulsi's smiling.
seriously think anybody on this stage is proposing invading Mexico?
She didn't say you wanted to invade Mexico. What a little fucking bitch. Do you seriously think? Look how mad. Look at that dude. 200% mad.
That's not
I'm
what I
talking
said.
about
That's not
building
what I
up.
said.
I'm talking about building up alliances. And if your question is about experience, let's also talk about judgment. One of the foreign leaders you mentioned meeting was Bashar al-Assad. I have, in my experience, such as it is, whether you think it counts or not, since it wasn't accumulated in Washington, enough judgment that I would not have sat down with a murderous dictator like that.
Congresswoman Gabbard, let me...
Oh shit, it's the same smear we've heard 500 times. Oh shit, meeting with foreign leaders to establish peace. Oh shit, diplomacy. Oh shit. Why do they think this is such a banger?
Asked directly whether you would send our troops to Mexico to fight cartels, and your answer was yes. The fact checkers can check this out. No. But your point about judgment is absolutely correct. Our commander-in-chief does need to have good judgment. And what you've just pointed out is that you would lack the courage to meet with both adversaries and friends to ensure the peace and national security of our nation. I take the example of those leaders who have come before us, leaders like JFK, who met with Khrushchev, like Roosevelt, who met with Stalin,
like Donald Trump,
Reagan, who met
Like
Did you guys know that good things turn into bad things when a bad person does them? So let's just replay that quick.
Like Roosevelt, who met with Stalin.
Like Donald Trump,
Reagan,
with Kim.
who met...
Like Trump that met with Kim Jong-un? Yes! What is your point, sir? These people think they're having these gotchas at Tulsi, but all they're doing is showing themselves for the absolute chicken hawks they are. Like, how they could think the one good thing Trump has done. I love the look Tulsi gives him. She's like... She's like a mom in a grocery store, her kid is acting up, and she's just like, just watch his face, watch him stew in his anger. What a fucking clown show. And they're adding more people. Apparently fucking Bloomberg wants to join the race. Oh, God. What did you guys think of the debate? Bye.